Breaking news. Moscow and Beijing have just issued a rare and forceful joint condemnation of Japan, sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles and newsrooms across the globe. In a unified voice, the two powers warn of what they call dangerous militarist tendencies emerging in Tokyo, raising the specter of a new era of regional instability. The alert flashes urgently across television screens and mobile devices worldwide, but nowhere is the impact felt more than in the heart of Tokyo, where the morning calm is shattered by the gravity of the announcement. Inside the Prime Minister's residence, phones ring off the hook as government aides scramble to coordinate a response, their faces etched with concern and uncertainty. The message delivered is far more than a routine diplomatic note. It's a coordinated warning, a clear signal that the balance of power and trust in the Indo-Pacific has been dramatically redrawn overnight. For decades, Japan, China, and Russia have walked a delicate line, balancing deep economic ties with a legacy of historical mistrust. But today, that fragile equilibrium appears to have been shattered, replaced by open suspicion and confrontation. Standing shoulder to shoulder, Chinese and Russian leaders accuse Tokyo of reviving militarism and distorting the painful lessons of history, warning that such actions cannot go unanswered. Around the world, news anchors and analysts scramble to interpret the significance of this joint condemnation. Headlines ask the pressing question: what has changed to provoke such a unified, aggressive stance from two of Asia's most powerful nations? Japanese officials, caught off guard by the sudden escalation, pore over every word of the statement, searching for hidden threats and clues to the true intentions behind the warning. Is this simply political rhetoric, or does it signal a deeper, more ominous policy shift? The ambiguity is unsettling, leaving Japan's leadership and its allies on edge. The timing of this condemnation is no coincidence. Japan has recently redefined its global role, unveiling a bold new defense posture and signaling its intent to play a more assertive part on the world stage. The joint statement from Moscow and Beijing is a direct pushback, a public declaration that Tokyo's actions are seen as a threat to both Chinese and Russian interests and will not be tolerated. The message is unmistakable. Japan is now under intense scrutiny, its every move watched and judged, and it faces the prospect of unified opposition from two powerful neighbors. The new flashpoint in Asia is no longer simmering quietly beneath the surface. It has been ignited, and the consequences could reshape the region for years to come. As the sun rises over a tense and uncertain Tokyo, the world holds its breath, watching closely as a new era of confrontation and high-stakes diplomacy dawns in Asia. At the heart of the crisis is the Moscow Declaration, unveiled after a high-level China-Russia meeting. The document accuses Japan of abandoning its post-war pacifism and pursuing aggressive revisionist policies. It cites Japan's rising defense budget, new long-range missiles, and deepening U.S. alliance as evidence. Beijing and Moscow claim these moves destabilize Asia and are part of a U.S.-led strategy to contain them. The language is provocative, invoking World War II and accusing Japan of repeating history. This is the most public China-Russia alignment against Japan in modern times. By framing their opposition as anti-militarism, they seek to sway other Asian nations and isolate Tokyo. The declaration is both a warning to Japan and a campaign to shape Asia's narrative. The stakes for regional order have never been higher. The timing of this declaration is rooted in today's volatile geopolitics, where every move is scrutinized and every alliance is tested. The world is witnessing a rapid transformation in the balance of power, especially across Asia, where old rivalries and new ambitions collide. Russia, increasingly isolated by the ongoing war in Ukraine and facing mounting sanctions, seeks to regain its global relevance by forging a closer partnership with China in the Pacific. This alliance is not just symbolic, it's a strategic pivot, signaling Moscow's intent to remain a key player in Asian affairs. For China, Japan's deepening ties with the United States, especially their open support for Taiwan, are seen as a direct challenge to Beijing's regional ambitions. This growing partnership demands a forceful and unmistakable response from China's leadership. The joint statement from China and Russia draws a clear red line, warning both Tokyo and Washington of serious consequences if they continue what Beijing and Moscow perceive as a strategy of encirclement and containment. Meanwhile, Japan's own political climate has shifted dramatically. Leaders now openly link Japan's security to the fate of Taiwan, breaking with decades of more cautious rhetoric and signaling a new era of assertiveness in Japanese foreign policy. In Beijing, These developments are viewed as intolerable interference in China's internal affairs and a violation of long-standing diplomatic understandings. The Chinese government is determined to push back against what it sees as a growing threat on its doorstep. With the West preoccupied by the crises in Ukraine and the Middle East, China and Russia sense a rare opportunity. They are moving to assert dominance in Asia, believing that the world's attention is too divided to mount an effective response. By ramping up military exercises and diplomatic pressure, Beijing and Moscow are actively testing the strength and resolve of the US-Japan alliance, probing for weaknesses while global focus is elsewhere. It's a calculated gamble, one that seeks to exploit what they perceive as Western distraction and weakness, hoping to shift the regional balance in their favor. The power balance in the region is being rewritten in real time, with military maneuvers and diplomatic moves reshaping the future of Asia before our eyes. Around the world, people watch these developments unfold on their screens, anxious and uncertain about what the next chapter will bring. The sense of unpredictability is palpable. The stakes could not be higher. The decisions made now will echo for generations, shaping not just Asia, but the entire global order. Japan's post-war pacifism, once guaranteed by US power, is under strain. Rising threats from China, North Korea, and Russia have forced Tokyo to rethink its security. Japanese leaders now speak of proactive defense, linking Japan's fate to Taiwan's security. This is a red line for Beijing, which sees any Japanese involvement in Taiwan as intolerable. Public opinion in Japan has shifted, with support growing for a stronger military. Repeated provocations, Chinese ships near disputed islands, North Korean missiles, Russian exercises have eroded pacifist consensus. Japan is stepping up as a regional power, moving beyond economic influence to active security leadership. China and Russia see this as a dangerous resurgence of militarism. The old order is gone. Japan is forging a new path. Japan is quietly transforming its military. Its new national security strategy doubles defense spending and invests in long-range missiles for the first time. This shift from a purely defensive posture is meant to deter, not provoke, but China and Russia see it as offensive. Japan is restructuring its command, deepening US cooperation, and investing in cyber and space warfare. The Ukraine war has shown Tokyo that economic ties alone can't guarantee sovereignty. Domestic opposition to rearmament has faded, replaced by a consensus for modernization. Japan's goal: prevent war by building credible deterrence. The stakes for Japan's future have never been higher. The real issue is Taiwan, the region's most dangerous flashpoint. Japan's southern islands are just over 100 kilometers from Taiwan. Any conflict would directly threaten Japanese territory. A Chinese takeover of Taiwan would give Beijing direct access to the Pacific and threaten Japan's vital sea lanes. For Tokyo, maintaining the status quo in the Taiwan Strait is a core security interest. US bases in Japan would be critical for any defense of Taiwan, making Japan a target in any conflict. China's joint statement with Russia aims to intimidate Japan and drive a wedge between Tokyo and Washington. For the US, a stronger Japan is key to deterring Chinese aggression. The fate of Taiwan and Japan are now inseparable. The region's future hinges on decisions made in Tokyo, Beijing, and Washington. The world is watching. Experts interpret the recent China-Russia joint statement as a carefully orchestrated act of strategic messaging, designed to send signals on multiple fronts and to multiple audiences around the world. This is not just a routine diplomatic gesture, but a calculated move with far-reaching implications. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a leading authority on East Asian affairs, points out that the statement serves as a direct warning to Tokyo. It's crafted to isolate Japan diplomatically, undermining its alliances and weakening its position in the region. The message is clear. Japan should tread carefully as the balance of power shifts. For President Putin, this is an opportunity to showcase Russia's enduring relevance in the Pacific, projecting strength far beyond Europe. For President Xi, it's a chance to rally nationalist sentiment at home, reinforcing the image of a strong, united China standing shoulder to shoulder with Russia. The joint statement also sends a pointed message to Washington. China and Russia are now coordinating their actions and strategies well beyond the confines of Europe and Central Asia, extending their influence into the Asia-Pacific. This development raises the stakes for US policymakers, forcing them to consider the possibility of a two-front crisis, one in Europe, the other in Asia, complicating American strategic calculations and stretching resources. However, General David Perkins, a respected military analyst, cautions that Russia's primary military focus remains on Ukraine. He emphasizes that, for now, this is mainly a Chinese initiative, with Russia lending political support rather than shifting its military priorities. While the immediate military threat in the region is limited, the aggressive rhetoric emboldens China and hardens Japan's resolve. Both sides are now more alert, increasing the risk of missteps or escalation. The real danger lies in the possibility of miscalculation, especially over Taiwan. As tensions rise, the risk of an unintended conflict in the Taiwan Strait becomes more likely, with potentially devastating consequences. This is psychological groundwork for future conflict, a campaign to shape perceptions, unsettle adversaries, and prepare the ground for more assertive actions down the line. While the unity between China and Russia may be more political than military at this stage, its impact on the global stage is undeniable. It shifts alliances, alters calculations, and creates new uncertainties. The entire region is now on edge, with ordinary people feeling the tension in their daily lives. Anxiety is rising as governments and citizens alike watch events unfold. Every move, every statement is now scrutinized by intelligence agencies and military planners, searching for any sign of escalation or sudden change. As uncertainty grows, the world braces for what comes next, hoping for stability but preparing for the possibility of crisis. The future is uncertain, with outcomes ranging from tense diplomacy to open conflict. The best case, a rhetorical standoff, with all sides avoiding escalation. More likely, sustained diplomatic and economic pressure, military posturing, and attempts to wear down Japan's resolve. The nightmare, a miscalculation, like a naval collision, sparks a military clash, potentially drawing in the U.S. leaders face stark choices: modernize defense without provoking neighbors, deter aggression without triggering war, and decide between confrontation or dialogue. The coming months will determine if this flashpoint can be managed peacefully. The world stands at a crossroads. The next moves will shape the century. These rising tensions aren't just distant headlines, they carry real human costs. For millions in Japan, Taiwan, and the region, anxiety is growing as peace feels increasingly fragile. The Indo-Pacific is the engine of the global economy. Conflict here would trigger worldwide disruption. Supply chains, energy prices, and daily life everywhere are tied to this region's stability. The crisis tests alliances and could fracture the international order. The choices made now will define global partnerships for decades. Rhetoric and military posturing risk becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, fueling escalation. Peace is not automatic, it's a daily choice. The leaders of China, Russia, Japan, and the US face critical decisions. The world hopes this new flashpoint can be diffused. The cost of failure is one the world cannot afford.